Howdy, folks. Uncle Bill here from DeadPit Radio, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the best films to come out of the early 90s and a great release from Severin Films in general with this 4K. I'm going to be talking about Michele Soavi's Cemetery Band, aka Dellamorte Dellamore, and this is a classic. I'd seen this film for the first time probably 17 years ago, basic DVD version of this film. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really care for it that much. I never really got into it. I didn't like it. But at that time, I think I was much more into like just slasher films and, straightforward films that didn't require a lot of thought or time and effort to kind of get into. And this is not one of those films. And this film is very challenging on a lot of different levels. I wouldn't say that it's as abstract as like a David Lynch film or anything like that, but it does challenge the viewer to kind of come up with some of your own ideas about what's going on. And I like that. I don't like to be hand fed endings and plots, and I don't like things to be just straight linear narrative all the time. And I don't like happy endings or horrible endings. Sometimes I like a little bit of ambiguity, and this film delivers on that. But what a wonderful story by a wonderful director, um, a protege of Dario Argento, who studied alongside Joe D'Amato, Argento, Umberto Lenzi, a lot of guys before he became a director. He was working second assistant director. So this film is a dark humor blend with an exceptionally gory kind of dreamlike Lynchian kind of thing. It's based on a comic book called Dylan Dog. Rupert Everett was the inspiration for that comic book, which is odd because he's actually the star of this film. They got the guy who was the inspiration for the comic book that was turned into a film to be the lead actor in the film, which I'm not sure if I've heard of that happening like that, but he is amazing in this. He plays the lead, uh, Francesco Dellamorte, and he is a cemetery man. He is over a cemetery, and it's a very small cemetery in this little town. And the only issue is that every night the dead rise from their grave, the ones that have been recently buried, and you never know when they're going to come back. So he's been tasked to take care of this problem. So he's got a revolver that he shoots all of the incoming dead in the head with and then just reburies them. So like if you're buried there between 1 to 7 days, like you rise, you don't know exactly when you're going to come back, but you come back, and then he's kind of like the dispatcher. And he has a assistant named Noggy who can only say nah. And he kind of looks like Curly from the Three Stooges. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that's pretty much who he looks like. And he's great because he's got a lot of physical comedy and a lot of physical kind of presence to him. Reminds me like Nick Frost in a way, except he doesn't speak. He doesn't have like the witty one-liners, but he's got that presence to him. Great, great kind of duo throughout the film, and they play really well off of each other. So, as the film kind of evolves, you go into um, knowing more about the cemetery, knowing more about Dellamorte, and you find out that he's kind of obsessed with like the order of all this stuff, and he uses a phone book to know about the recently deceased and how many people are left, and he marks the names off when they die so he can, keep track. And after a person dies, um, his widow comes to the funeral, and Dellamorte falls in love with this woman immediately in the film. And she is really not interested because she is kind of an oddball character that has a penchant for the dead. And so she wants to do all these weird things, which are probably best left unsaid in this review. But needless to say, he obliges that because he's in love with her. And it doesn't really work out like he intended it to. Sadly, and he keeps running into this same woman or a variation of this same woman throughout the story in different people. And there's a really great sequence in this film where there's a bus accident and a motorcycle accident, and like a whole Boy Scout troop is killed, and they come back to life, and he has to dispatch with them along with all these other people like that passed away. So like there's a lot of people that died at the same time, and they all come back at the roughly around the same time, and he's got to like take care of them. Um, all the time, all the while Nagi's falling in love with a severed head. So yeah, that's it. That's the story, the main part of the story. And then later on in the story, there's this Grim Reaper character that follows him around all the time. Basically tells him he's got to switch from killing the dead to switch to killing the living, and he begins to do that as well. And that's where things kind of start to fall apart, and he starts to kind of lose grip and on his own kind of sanity. And eventually he realizes he's trapped in this cemetery, and he wants to get out, and he wants to find love, and he wants to find all the normal things that people want to find in life. So he leaves the cemetery, and he tries to make it to, across the bridge into another land away from that town. And it has a very surprising ending. I'll just say that. It's an ending that's up to a million different interpretations, and I think a lot of people have kind of speculated on what exactly the ending means. Um, but I don't want to give it away for anybody. I want people to watch it, and I want people to take it and make it into whatever they think it should be, because I think that's mostly what this film was about. But amazing work by Michele Soavi. Um, Great direction, great cinematography. Rupert Everett is amazing. All the actors in this are amazing, but especially Everett and the guy that plays Nagi. This is the standard 4K edition from Severin. There is a ultra limited, like big box edition that I think has many more discs, including the soundtrack. But this one is disc one. It has the UHD with audio commentary by Michele Soavi and screenwriter Gianni Romelli. And disc two is the Blu-ray, which I watched all these special features. They're all great. At the Graves, which is an interview with Suave, where he talks about the whole thing about how the comic book came to be, and how he kind of like was given us an unused script from the guy that did the comic book to make this movie. And there's a lot of great information about that in this. Of Love and Death, which is an interview with the actor Rupert Everett, where he talks about this film, and you know that he still considers it one of his best films. She, which is an interview with actress Anna Falchi, who may be one of the most attractive women ever put to film. And this may be one of the, even as bizarre as it is, just one of those like Phoebe Cates moments in a film. And for the people that have seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And for those that haven't, you need to watch it. There's a making of, archival making of in this as well. So let's talk about like the way that this film looks. And my God, like I could not believe the transfer on this film. I hadn't seen this film, like I said, in over a decade, and saw it on a DVD. I think Anchor Bay, or I think it was Anchor Bay that put it out, maybe Blue Underground, one of those two. And it looks like an entirely different film. Like you appreciate so much more about the film because of how well this transfer is done. You appreciate the performances more. You appreciate the scenery more, the locations more. Everything about it is crisp and clear and unique. And it's presented in such a way that you're like kind of mesmerized by this world that's created. That's, almost a fantasy world, and could never really possibly exist, but you get drawn into it. And it's a lot due to how great this transfer is. It's as clear and as good as a transfer as I've seen anybody come out with in the last year. I'll say that for certain. The sound is great. I'm not sure what the actual like sound is on this. It's, I think, Atmos on here, but it outstanding. Like the dialogue doesn't go in and out like when action scenes come up and things like that. It stays right there. Um, Everything about this release um is amazing. It makes me want to get like the other release as well, the big box release. But this in and of itself is outstanding. And if you are a fan of Italian cinema, if you're a fan of like, you know, Argento stuff, or if you're a fan of, there's some stuff in this that's very Fulci-esque. There's some Sam Raimi kind of stuff in this film. If you're a fan of any of those people, I recommend this movie. If you're just a fan of a great movie that makes you think and doesn't give you all the answers and is really like a dreamlike quality to it, then you should watch this movie as well. A real classic in the world of Italian genre films. Can't recommend it high enough. Check it out. Severin Films, Cemetery Man. It's on sale now. I'm Uncle Bill. Check us out at deadpit.com and Into the Dead Pit. And yeah, here's to more genre films like this getting released on 4Ks that are amazing. So I will catch you guys later.
Give us the thumbs up.
Up you butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a fuck.
I want you to.
I don't care.
Let's keep our community growing here on YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that, pal.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit Radio shirts. You can get Last South on the left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Dead Pit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows, fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pit on Patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.